Okay, shall we go? Okay. Hi, hello. Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending where you are in the world. I hope you're keeping well. If you don't know me, my name's Harmi Baines. I'm the OET course director here at West London English School. We're a private language school based in West London, where we teach OET and a range of other courses as well. So we're a premium preparation provider. You can probably see that PPP logo in the corner of your screen. And what that means is that we've been accredited officially by OET. So all premium providers have done courses. All our teachers have worked with OET. And that's why you see that PPP logo. Remember, if you're going to work with a school or a teacher, it's probably a really good idea to get a premium provider because we have been officially accredited, like I said. Okay, that's enough of the sales pitch. Let's get down to business. If you've got your exam coming up, and I know a few of you do have your exam coming up, hopefully this lesson can help you. We're going to be looking at Reading Part A, which is an important part of the reading subtest. Reading Part A, it's 15 minutes. Parts B and C are 45 minutes, and you do those together. But you start off with Part A. You're given 4, sometimes 3, but normally 4 really short texts, and all of the texts are related to the workplace. You have to do 3 sets of exercise, 3 different exercises, and we're going to have a look at each of these in a moment. You have matching, short answer, and gap fill. Your answers should only be taken from the text. This is really important. Again, we'll have a look at this in today's lesson because you do need good spelling. As you're copying your answers from the text, it's really important you take care. Don't make errors with spelling. And finally, your skimming and scanning. So these are the testing points, if you like. These are the reading skills, I should say, that you're tested on. It's different from parts B and C. In parts B and C, you're tested on things like identifying the reader's attitude or opinion, identifying the gist, or there's detailed reading. So these are different skills. What you're being tested on here is skimming and scanning, and that's what we're going to practice in this lesson. Quick bit of maths. So we've got 15 minutes. You have 20 questions, and if you work out the maths, that's not a lot of time per question. In fact, it's 45 seconds per question. If you think you're probably going to spend a minute looking at the 4 texts and just getting a quick overview, and that means you've got 14 minutes per question. 14 minutes for 20 questions. So it's even less than 45 seconds. It's really not a lot of time, guys. And this is why Reading Part A, you need to skim and scan. You don't have time to read every single word, but you're going to have to read for speed, and you're going to have to look quickly and scan for key information. So skimming and scanning, this is really what it's all about in Part A, and we're just going to practice some skimming and scanning. So let's do a quick task. Let's do a scanning task. Scanning, of course, is where you're looking for exact words or exact pieces of information. You're going to see a text and you have, I think it's 15 seconds to find a word in the text. Unless it's gone up to 20 seconds. Let's see. Okay, so you've got this text. You don't have time to read everything. You need to find the word symptoms. I think it's 10 seconds. We've got 10 seconds. Okay, hopefully you can see which paragraph, which line the word symptoms is in. Okay, find the word arteries. Again, guys, you've only got 10 seconds. Okay, we'll go on to question 3. How many times is the word ICDs used? Okay, again, you've got 10 seconds. Find a synonym of cures. 10 seconds. Okay, this time you've got 2 words, doses and caregiver. You've only got 10 seconds. Okay. Okay, so let's quickly go through those. The first text was about probiotics, and you had to find the word symptoms. Of course, you don't have time to read everything, and that's why we say it's scanning. You're scanning for this word symptoms, and I'm sure most of you, a lot of you seem to have found it in the second paragraph. You can see there on the second line. The second test, you were scanning for the word arteries. As you go through the text, it was about halfway down you found this word. This time you were scanning for the word ICDs. This was a little bit of a trick because you needed the S and there's only 2 ICDs. I know there are a lot of ICD in there, but you need the ICDs. So take care with the question. You'll see in a moment that some of these questions in reading part A are really tricky. You've really got to understand the question and read it carefully. Keep going. This is a little bit tricky. Scanning for a synonym. Again, this is really common in part A. You do this quite a lot. You have a word in a question, but you're going to have to find a synonym. Synonym for cures. It was right at the bottom. Remedy. Remedies. And this was a little bit more tricky, I think, just because we put 2 words in there, label and caregiver. You can see these words here. So if you found those in 10 seconds, fantastic, great. And this is what you're going to be doing in reading part A. You're going to be scanning, be looking at questions and finding exact words or synonyms. We're going to be looking at an OET paper a little bit later, but let's now do a skimming task. So we've done scanning. Skimming, now you've got to read a text, but you've got to read it quickly. Again, you don't have time to read every word. So pay attention to things like headings, to subheadings. Pay attention to the layout of the text as well. Look at things like bullet points or highlighted words. Okay, on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to see 6 different headings. You need to match the text to the heading. Again, okay, you've only got 15 seconds. Okay, so hopefully you can match this text to one of the headings on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll go on to number 2. Again, just 15 seconds. Okay, for the last text, you only had 10 seconds because it was fairly short. Let's see how you got on. We'll go through these different texts. The first one, there was no heading there, but reading the first sentence was really useful because they do mention how the syndrome is treated, or they mention the word treated. And actually, you can also see in the third paragraph as well, just sometimes in severe cases, admission to an intensive care unit is needed. So really, they're just talking about treatment. I think sometimes reading the first sentence of each paragraph, the first line, can really help you get a quick overview of the text. Okay, here, if you just really look at the subheadings, the answers in the subheadings: avoiding the sun, wearing protective clothing, using sunscreen. And you can see clearly they're talking about prevention. So again, as well as reading the first sentence in a paragraph or the first sentence in a text, have a look at the subheadings because these can also help you get an overview, a quick overview of the text. This time, the bullet points, in fact, give you lots of symptoms, and that's really what you have here. The whole thing was about symptoms. It even mentions symptoms, in fact. But again, just the bullet points are giving you all the information here. This time, the first sentence, they're talking about different types of tests: protein, blood cells, sugar and waste products. And then you've got at the end an ultrasound. An ultrasound scan should reveal if the cause is a blockage. Okay, they're talking about different investigations there. Okay, this time again, if you just look at the heading, you can see here they're talking about contraindications, clonidine with other medications. And that's really what you had in the rest of the text. But again, really just the heading has given you the answer. So sometimes just looking at the heading and the subheadings can really, really help you understand what the text is about. Okay, and again, it was really there in the heading, wasn't it? Catching athlete's foot. So it was really all about the causes, what causes athlete's foot. So the headings, you see the subheadings are really important. Looking at things like bullet points or highlighted words as well can help you get a quick overview of the text. And this is important for reading part A. These are the 3 sets of questions which you have to answer. Some of you will be familiar with this. This is what you see on the day of your exam. This is your question paper, your question booklet, and you can see there are 3 different types of questions you need to answer. We're going to be looking at short answer and gap fill in a moment, but these matching questions, really that's what they're testing you on. They want to know whether you've really understood what these texts are about. These 4 texts you have, are they about treatment? Are they about analgesia? Generally, what are they about? And if you can get a quick overview of that, it can really help you and it can save you time. When you look at the texts that you have, they all come in a certain order. So these aren't just 4 texts thrown together. They're actually in a logical order. This is about managing diabetic foot ulcers. Just using the headings will really help you. Says assessing a diabetic foot ulcer. So don't worry if you can't read it. We're going to be looking at these texts in a moment. But essentially, this is about assessment. And imagine you're working in a clinic and a patient comes in with a diabetic. They're diabetic, they've got a problem with their foot. The first thing you might want to do is really assess them. So it starts off with an assessment. It then moves on to managing the patient. Again, the heading says applying dressings to DFUs, to diabetic foot ulcers. So the heading is telling you it's about managing the patient. It then goes on to debridement. So we're talking about treatment. And you can see in the table at the end, if you just skim read this, it's different types of dressings kind of after the treatment, further management. So you can see that the four texts are all in a logical order. And if you can kind of identify very quickly what these four texts are about, it will help you when you do that matching task. The other thing, just to quickly point out here, guys, is that you'll notice that all of the texts are different. And this is something OET do. They try to use different texts. So we have a table, we have some kind of, I don't know really what it is, a lot of bullet points. And then you've got text C, 2 paragraphs, text D, another table. You might have a flow chart. So they try to mix it up. They try to give you different texts. So as you quickly look at the text, take note of the layout. Think, what am I looking at? Is it a paragraph? Is it a table? Is it a flowchart? Of course, you've got to do this really quickly because you only have 15 minutes for Part A. So let's move on to OET. Let's put this into an OET context. And we're just going to practice some short answer questions. These are the short answer questions here. A lot of you will be familiar with this. You have a question. Really take care with the question because often they tell you what kind of answer is required. And you also need words to scan for. We're going to talk about this in a moment. I think let's go straight into it. There's 3 or 4 short answer questions that we need to do. Again, you're working against the clock, guys. You've got 30 seconds to find the answer. Okay, hopefully you managed to write down your answer or you can type into the chat. Question number 2. Okay, so those were short answer questions, and let's just take a look at the answers. What kind of DFU is it if a patient has lost all sensation? Okay, what kind of diabetic foot ulcer? So with these short answer questions, they actually tell you what type of answer you need. You need to identify the type of DFU. So I always underline that part of the question so I know what I'm looking for. Of course, I need words to scan for. And I can see here something about loss of sensation. And I'm probably going to scan the text to find words like this or synonyms for this. And of course, the first thing you need to do is work out what text do I go to? Is it text A, B, C, or D? Well, this is really, when it says what kind of DFU, I mean, it's really identifying the diabetic foot ulcer, and this is comes under assessment. And again, it's really there in the heading, and you can see how important the headings are. Okay, so loss of all sensation, you can see the word sensation there. Sensory loss, okay, so the answer was neuropathic. I can see a lot of you have got it. Fantastic. The second question, what type of dressing should you avoid if a patient's wound is infected? And again, you can see what type of dressing, that's the answer. So immediately I would underline that. I know that's what I need to write down. I've got to write down a type of dressing. I'm going to look for an infected wound or something like this. Remember to understand the question, though. It says avoid as well, a type of dressing to avoid. Even though I haven't underlined it, I'm going to keep that in my head, but I'm going to scan for infected wound. I can find it here, and you can see hydrocolloids, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Hopefully I am. And that's the answer. If cost is an issue, which dressing is best? And that's what I've got to find. I've got to find the dressing. Words to scan for, cost and issue. I think I'd probably would look for those words, but you got to take care. You know, nothing is straightforward with OET. There are lots of little traps they set for you, and you can see the word cost. However, you've really got to understand the question, because cost here is a disadvantage. Well, the question is which dressing is best. So I need cost to be an advantage, not a disadvantage. So this is a bit of a trick. And if you scan for the word cost, and you won't find it, but you do find a kind of like, I guess, an antonym, not quite a synonym, but an opposite, or maybe a similar word to cost, let's say, but inexpensive. You can see the relationship between cost and inexpensive, and it's quite clear. But I think really take care with the question, guys, because they do really trip you up with lots of things like this. So you need a lot of focus and concentration. What two types of DFU show necrosis? Okay, and you can see this is what I've got to write down. I've got to find two types of DFU. Looking for necrosis. Again, this is to do with assessment. You know which text to go to. Necrosis is down there. So the answers you can see. Okay, so hopefully you can see in these short answer questions what you need to do. They actually tell you what kind of answer to write down, so you know what you're looking for, but you also need something to scan for. Remember, you might be scanning for a synonym or something similar. And of course, you need to work out what text do I go to. You're going to have to work out, do I go to text A, B, C, or D? And again, that's why it's so good to spend that minute getting an overview of the four text. Think about the question. Is this asking me about assessment? Is it asking me about management? Is it asking me about analgesia? Is it asking me about post-discharge? And if you're kind of clear about what the texts are, it really can save you time. Okay, let's keep working. This time we're going to do gap fill questions. Quite similar to short answer questions. This time you're writing your answer in a gap. So really take care with the questions. Again, you're going to need words to scan for. But again, you've only got 30 seconds. Okay, let's have a look at that.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, let's have a look at this.
I'm not sure I understand.
Sorry, got Siri just coming up on my computer. Okay, the short answer questions are quite similar to gap-fill questions, but they're slightly different as well. Check that. You can see the type of word you need is a noun, it's a thing. So it's not telling you exactly what kind of word to write, but you can kind of guess or anticipate a little bit. You've got to check something. We know we need a noun, and again, you need words to scan for. Something will still go on after the dressing has been applied. It sounds like something you wear. It's something that will still go on while you put clothing on. So it's going to be an item that you wear on your body. After the dressing has been applied, you can see in the bullet points, and the last bullet points, remember that footwear needs to accommodate any dressing. So slightly different, and this is why you don't always have synonyms, but you have synonymous language. You have language which is quite similar, and you can see the similarity here. So you can see the answer is footwear. The second question, draw a line around any something and ask the patient to get in touch if it worsens. Again, you're going to need a noun and some words to scan for, drawing a line, get in touch, worsen. And I think I'd probably look get in touch. But you can see here, I'm just going to put at the bottom, I've just highlighted this area. It's a good idea to mark the extent of any cellulitis with an indelible marker. Well, that bit means draw the line. Mark the extent of the cellulitis with an indelible marker. Okay, so you can see this is the relevant area. To contact the foot care team immediately. In other words, get in touch. Okay, so you can clearly see at the bottom the answer, it's going to be cellulitis. But again, just the importance of synonyms or synonymous language. You're scanning for words which are similar but not exact. It's really important. The next question, you might need to involve and again, involve a something. It's a noun in the patient's care. If you cannot detect a pulse in the foot, and you can probably see you might need to involve a person. So you know, again, the type of word you need to find. What words to scan for? I've put here, cannot detect a pulse in the foot, maybe involve. I know I need a person, and this was the relevant area. Okay. And it is vascular surgeon. Okay. Make sure the wound is level, otherwise, and again, it's another noun. Something won't be able to go across it. Words to scan for: a level wound, maybe. You can look for something like that, grow across it if you like. And you can find this towards the bottom of the text. Interesting language where it says, in the question, it says it won't be able to grow across it. And there it says migrate across a firm level granulation base. It's a very loose kind of synonym. And normally you wouldn't say that's a synonym. But when you look at the context, you can see it's synonymous. So the answer, hopefully you've got it there. Yeah, epithelium. Okay, so hopefully that has been some help. Let's just recap a few things. So we looked at getting an overview of the four texts immediately, but only spending a minute doing this. Remember, you have 20 questions, you only have 15 minutes. So really it's all about speed. It's all about skimming and scanning. So maybe spend a minute. I know some people like to spend longer, but don't spend too long. Just getting a quick overview of the four texts. Remember, they're all in a logical order. Is that this an overview? Is it an assessment? Is this management? I can see this is treatment. Just do that really quickly. Use the layout to help you. Use subheadings and headings, bullet points. Take note of what kind of text you have, and use all of that to really get a quick overview of what the text is about. That will help you when you do the first matching exercise. Remember to read the question carefully. They do trick you. Really take care with the question. Highlight keywords to scan for as well. And we talked about synonyms and synonymous language, how important this is as well. Spelling is really important, so don't lose marks with spelling, and also don't lose marks with your handwriting. Make sure your handwriting is easy to read. Make sure it's legible. Don't lose marks because of handwriting. I know you're in a rush, but it is really important. I think when you've done the hard work of skimming and scanning and you found the answer, it's such a shame to lose marks for your handwriting. So take care with spelling, take care with handwriting as well. And importantly, keep moving. If you can't find the answer to a question, don't panic, just move on and come back to it at the end. But don't lose time. Don't get hung up on one question because you're just going to lose your time. Keep moving, guys, and just go back to your questions. Okay, and practice as well. That's the other thing, is practice. Keep practicing. The more you practice, the faster you will become. Okay, I hope that was some use. Check out wles.net. If you want to go to our website, you can find lots of courses there, online courses, not just nurses and doctors, but also stuff for pharmacists as well, dentists, vets, in fact. So check out wles.net. If you're here in London, actually come in and see us. We're based in Ealing in West London. And we will be running face-to-face courses fairly soon. I imagine probably next month in March. But check out us, our YouTube channel as well. We do have videos on YouTube. Please do like, subscribe and share as well. So really that's it, guys. Wish you all the best if you have your exam coming up. Keep practicing, expanding your language, keep working, and fingers crossed you'll clear this difficult exam. Okay, it was a pleasure working with you guys, and I will see you again fairly soon. Take care.